The shareholder vote came in and it worked out as Tesla had expected, as they had hoped. The biggest one was, of course, Elon's back pay. Deal's a deal. But the second one, the more confusing one, is the redomestication of the company's headquarters, their corporate headquarters.
Their legal headquarters.
Their legal headquarters from Delaware to the state of Texas. What does it mean? Let's find out. I'm Brian. Welcome to Futuraza. So I got Bradford Ferguson here from Rebellionaire, and when it comes to investments and investing, he's someone that I rely on to ask difficult questions. And my question is, redomestication to Texas, obviously this would put lawsuits in a different venue, one that would potentially be more friendly, not guaranteed. There are no guarantees when it comes to things like that. But you picked up on something a little more interesting. You want to tell us what that is?
Yeah, so TeslaBoomerMama actually found out about it, but I think not many people know about this yet. So, not only are, shifting the legal HQ to Texas to like get away from what's going on in Delaware and all the lawsuits, but also there was a whole issue of Elon losing potentially those shares, and Elon wants to have 25% voting power. And it's because he sees the power of AI. He sees the potential for autonomy, for humanoid bots, and that power could be abused. And Elon wants to have the votes to prevent activist shareholders like ISS and all these other proxy firms who don't have shareholder best interests in mind and kind of have their own policies and stuff from subverting what Tesla's able to do with humanoid bots and with AI. So what was interesting that TeslaBoomerMama found from the articles of incorporation in Texas, and I'm guessing, Brian, you can get this put up on the screen, all official, but they already have filed them. They didn't wait, and they spoke to a certain interesting thing called preferred stock, and this is in number 4.4. And they talk about in here being able to issue preferred stock that has voting rights or special voting rights. They give themselves other options for preferred stock, but it's for, I think, generally for director level type people at Tesla. It would probably need a shareholder vote, I'm not sure. But they're setting up the ability to give beneficial voting rights, whereas in Delaware, the way it worked is once they went public, they couldn't.
It's all common stock.
It was common stock, and they couldn't create new classes. They could have when they became public, but that didn't happen. Right. But now that they moved to Texas, they can issue preferred stock.
So what that means is, without giving him dollars, you could give him votes. Mm-hmm. And I can't explain enough how important it is, because if you look at a company like SpaceX, where Elon controls, 48%, it would be very easy for a bean counter to come in and say, look, Starship is a huge investment, just use Falcon Heavy. Mm-hmm. Falcon Heavy is a very safe investment. It's a great rocket, but it won't get you to the next level. And for that matter, why even worry on Falcon Heavy? Falcon 9 is very capable. Let's just stop there. And you can do that, but Starlink is going to become twice as available and twice as profitable, or twice as cheap, or both, when Starship is the one deploying it. Mm-hmm. And with Tesla, we saw with OpenAI, Elon was a co-founder, and he stepped back because he said, look, I don't want there to be a profit motive here. So he just gave it away. And as soon as he left, they're like, profit motive, you say? That sounds tasty. So this gives the opportunity to do that. Do you share the vision or not? And if you do, this makes sense. Anything else we should know about preferred stock versus common stock? So what they could do is, in the next comp plan, say, we're going to give you less common and more preferred, or all preferred, or bonuses based on that.
Yeah, they could give him votes based off of different conditions on what happens with Tesla. Shareholders could just agree to award him the votes. without stipulations. But I'm guessing that wouldn't be a good deal for shareholders. We need Elon to perform. So right now, Elon owns 13% of shares through regular shares. But with his newly regranted 2018 stock options, he has 23%. But he's got to pay taxes on those.
Right. So
Elon's a cashless billionaire. I know it sounds ridiculous, but he doesn't have much cash to his name. So when he exercises those options, he has to pay a high tax rate on that. 40% if it's just all from Texas, but a lot of the grants happened while he's in California. So he loses 53% of those shares. So that 23% becomes 18% or so. So then, he wants enough votes to be at 25%. Mm-hmm. So the preferred stock is one way to do that. Elon also mentioned buybacks as being one way that he could get more votes, where Tesla has profits. They use those profits to buy back shares and retire those shares. And then in essence, everyone's voting power increases because there's less votes if you retain your shares. So
and all
it's a way for more votes.
At $1 trillion market cap, all that would have to happen is they'd have to repurchase $200 billion in stock to add that 5%. Because for every 4 shares they buy back, it's effectively 1 share for Elon if he's around 25%, right? So you got to buy back.
It might work that way. I'd have to put it in a spreadsheet to make sure.
And the more shares Tesla buy back, the more expensive they get, which is why I prefer true leadership like GM. Get a $10 billion loan to build EVs and let's buy back some stock.
Yeah.
Oh, were we supposed to build EVs last year? I got another $6 billion here. Let's buy back some stock. A side note, what on earth are they doing?
Who's that?
GM. Are they just looting? Are they just looting it so that Mary can have a slightly larger paycheck?
Yeah. Connecting the Dots has done a lot of videos about GM and Ford, and he calls GM the subsidy truffle hound. They're very good at smelling out and getting subsidies and using that, but then they end up giving the money to shareholders. So shareholders like it a bit, but their stock's gone nowhere for, I don't know, a decade or
that $10 billion
been a long time.
Did not have the upside impact that I was expecting. I expected a much bigger bump than that, but yeah, at the rate they're going, they'll own themselves in no time flat, and that's great, I guess.
Own their non-growing self. There's 5 ways that corporations can use their cash. You can acquire new companies, you can invest it internally, you can do a buyback, you can do dividend, or you can put it in the bank. And when you are routinely down and doing the dividend and buyback, you're saying we don't see opportunities with our business.
Right.
So people like dividends because companies tend to be a little more stable with dividends. It makes management be more disciplined in what they're doing with the cash. But really, it's we don't have growth that we could be reinvesting in our business. And so we're going to give it back to you.
So by the way, I don't know if you saw this, but GM had the most amazing comp plan suggested for Mary Barra, which is we're going to give you $50 million, but you have to hit this target, which is lower than 2023's actual sales. Did you know that?
No.
That is her target. Is all you have to do is not shrink the company too much. You can shrink it. Oh, don't get me wrong. And we'll still give you $50 million.
Mm-hmm. I do want to add something. If people have concerns about how Elon is running Tesla, and it seems like Elon's really back. He's making big, bold moves, and people had concerns around what he did with the supercharging team, where he had a disagreement with the person that was running the team. They didn't let go enough people when Elon wanted to reduce the bureaucracy, and he let go of everyone. And people were like, "Oh, what's going to happen now?" Well, they end up hiring back a bunch. But what we learned from people who work really closely with Tesla supercharging is they had become bureaucratic and slowed things down. Like they had a 200-point checklist for every supercharger that goes in. And that's just like the standard before you add in any customization from the sites. And so like, I think Tesla is being well run. It's very chaotic. They're growing quickly, so it's going to be chaos. But like the culture of Tesla is what really Elon sets. And without Elon, or maybe perhaps JB Straubel, we wouldn't have the same culture at Tesla. It wouldn't be growing and going after the same thing. So
I would point out that when the supercharger team was axed, I said it was a mistake and that they would need to be immediately replaced because there's no other division that could just step in and take over the role. And I got a lot of heat from people saying Elon knows best. And I point out, he'll be the first to tell you, if you don't have to add back in, you didn't cut enough. And he'll tell you he's not infallible. So cut me some slack once in a while. I beg of you.
So these articles of incorporation, that's good news. It gives Tesla the flexibility to give Elon the votes and have him perform to get those votes.
And as Bradford was saying, it's not like they would just give them to him. It would be part of some new plan that would also have to be voted on. It just creates the flexibility, which wasn't there before redomestication.
Right.
And we've been through that, looking at the different Delaware, regulations and considerations on that.
Certainly it could be criticized because I think it's unusual just to be giving more votes. I'm guessing it's happened before, but it's not usual. So, that'll be something that people will criticize Tesla over and, try to get in the way of their success. But I think this is legal, and I think it'll generally work. It's my opinion, not legal advice.
Right.
I am not a lawyer.
And the fact that it's legal, public, and out in the open and on the up and up doesn't mean it won't result in a lawsuit.
Yeah.
Anything can result in a lawsuit.
It's America. So
if you've been injured in a car or truck accident, I've been staying in hotels. Right. So this will be interesting to see how it unfolds. And I'm very curious to see what the next comp plan looks like. But I imagine it's going to look as insane as the previous two did, where we'll look at it and go, well, he'd get $3 trillion, but by creating $30 trillion in value, which is impossible. So if it's impossible, let's find out. Right? I'm here for it. Too far in the future, we'll discuss it when it approaches. So guys, in the comments, what do you think? Is this a good way for Elon to get the control without the dollars? And if you don't want him in control, you're probably not a shareholder anyway. 72% chance you're in favor of him having more shares. We know because of the vote. So let us know in the comments what you think of that. Huge thanks to Bradford Ferguson.
Rebellionaire.com.
Rebellionaire.com.
Check us out.
Link in the description. I'll throw in a link to their YouTube as well. They've got some good stuff there. And their X account, which has the most good stuff, I'd say. But hey, what do I know? So what do we miss? What do we misunderstand? Leave it in the comments below and like, subscribe, do the usual. And everybody else, stay tuned, stay juicy. And I cannot wait to hear from you clever robots on the flippity flip.